Hello, students. Welcome to the first class of chemistry. Let me introduce myself. My name is Jeeda and I will be taking chemistry for you. It is really sad that I am not able to get your physical presence here. But according to the current situation, it is better that you stay at your home itself. Stay home, stay safe. Science is a subject that needs regular updation. So, my dear students, whatever that you are studying in plus 1 is needed for your plus 2 board examination too. So, when you start studying plus 1, be serious about it. Today, we will be starting the first chapter of chemistry, that is, some basic concepts of chemistry. This chapter is really important because it covers all the small topics that is needed for your further study of chemistry. So this chapter includes all the fundamental things that you need to know in chemistry. So we will be starting this chapter today with some of the topics that you have already studied in your lower grades, but there are some topics which are new to you also. So when we start with the chapter, when we are studying a particular topic, if any type of doubts comes into your mind, please clarify it. Please feel free to contact me, clarify all your doubts before going to the next topic. Have you ever wondered how does the food that we are eating converts into energy? How does medicines work on our body? And how does fuels helps in automobiles? Answer for all these questions is only the one word, that is chemistry. So what is this chemistry? So chemistry is a branch of science which deals with the study of composition, structure and properties of matter. So what is this matter? Matter is anything that occupies space and has definite mass and volume. Before going to what is meant by matter, we should know what is the importance of chemistry in our daily life. Chemistry has interlinked with the other branches of science. It plays an important role in our daily life. How important is it in our daily life? It helps in finding out the weather patterns. It helps in the production of fertilizers, alkalis, acids, salts, dyes, and various polymers. It helps in the manufacture of drugs, soaps, detergents, metals, various alloys, and other inorganic and organic chemicals. It helps in the food industry, healthcare products, and other products manufacturing factories also. It helps in production of superconducting ceramics, conducting polymers, optical fibers, and various miniature solid state devices. It helps in the synthesis of safer alternatives for CFC, chlorofluorocarbon, which is emitting from the fridges, ACs, etc., which causes ozone layer depletion in the stratosphere. It helps in understanding the use of enzymes for large scale production of chemicals. It also helps in the synthesis of various chemicals or materials. So, in order to study more about the chemistry, it's mandatory that we should know about the matter first. So, depending upon the arrangement of constituent particles, the matter can exist in three different physical states: solid, liquid, and gas. So, first we can study about the each state of matter. First one is the solid state. In the solid state, particles are held very close to each other in an orderly fashion, and hence they do not have much freedom of movement. They have definite volume and definite shape. In liquid state, the molecules are loosely held and they can move around. They have definite volume but not definite shape. They take the shape of the container in which they are held. In gaseous state, the molecules are kept far apart so they can move around very easily compared to the solid state and liquid state. They have no definite volume or no definite shape. They will occupy all the spaces in the container in which they are held. These three states of matter are interconvertible with each other if we regulate its temperature and pressure. If we heat solid, solid will change into liquid state. If we further heat the liquid state, it will even change into gaseous state. Just the reverse, the gaseous state can be changed into liquid state by cooling it, and the liquid state can be converted back into its solid state by further cooling. So, classification of matter. Matter is classified into two: mixtures and pure substances. Substances which contain only one kind of atoms or molecules, we call it as the pure substances. In the pure substances, the particles are held in a fixed ratio. For example, carbon dioxide. In carbon dioxide, the carbon and oxygen are in a fixed ratio. But on the other hand, mixture is the elements or compounds are mixed together in any proportion. So hence, they don't have a fixed proportion. For example, seawater. Seawater contains mixture of various salts and water and various substances in it. Pure substances are further classified into elements and compounds. Substances which consist of only one kind of atom, we call it as the element. For example, sodium, copper, silver, hydrogen, oxygen. These all are the examples of elements which contains only one atom in it. It cannot be further separated into constituents by any means. For example, oxygen contains only the atoms of oxygen in it. Compounds. Two or more elements, if it is combined in a fixed proportion, we call it as a compound. For example, ammonia, water, etc. The components of a compound cannot be separated by any physical method, but it can be separated by chemical methods. For example, water is in a ratio of 1:2. It cannot be separated into hydrogen and oxygen by any of the physical methods like distillation or fractional distillation. But it can be separated into hydrogen and oxygen by electrolysis, which is a chemical method. The properties of a compound are different from those of its constituent elements. For example, water, which is produced from hydrogen and oxygen, is in a liquid state, whereas hydrogen and oxygen, which are its constituent particles, are in the gaseous state. Mixtures are further classified into two, depending upon the uniformity of the particles present in that solution. If the particles are uniformly spread out throughout the solution, then we call it as a homogeneous mixture. For example, sugar solution. If we dissolve sugar into a water and if we stir it, the sugar will be uniformly spread out throughout that solution. If the particles are non-uniformly spread, then we call such mixture as heterogeneous mixture. For example, mixture of sand and water. The sand will settle down at the bottom of the water. A mixture can be separated into its constituents by physical methods. The magnetic separation. A mixture of iron and sand can be separated by using a magnet. So we have studied that matter is anything that occupies space and has a definite mass on it. So all the matters have definite properties also. So the properties of matter are of two types, physical properties and chemical properties. Let us look at an example. A rubber ball is bouncing. So let us look at the rubber ball and tell something about this. Its state, it is a solid state. It is round in shape. It is yellow in color. And it smells like a rubber and it bounces also. Now let us look at the sulfur. Sulfur is in solid state. It is yellow in color and it's have a very strong odor also. So what we have observed is the physical properties of ball and sulfur. So now we can define the physical properties like those properties which can be measured or observed without changing the identity or composition of the substance. Examples of physical properties are color, length, mass, area, texture, elasticity, odor, melting point, and boiling point. These all properties we can measure without changing the identity or composition of the substance. Physical properties help us to describe a substance. However, by just describing its physical properties, we cannot identify the object. For example, all the properties that we defined about the sulfur can be repeated for the rubber ball also. So other solids which have the same properties we will be confused with the identity of that particular object. Hence, we should know about the chemical properties of these objects also. The measurement or observation of chemical properties requires a chemical change to occur. For example, flammability, reactivity to an acid, reactivity to water gives us chemical properties of an object. For example, if we burn sulfur, it will produce a clear blue flame. So, producing blue clear flame is an chemical property of sulfur. Hence, a chemical property requires a chemical change to occur, whereas physical properties can be measured without changing the identity or the composition of the substance. I hope you have understood these topics. Thank you.